And he looked at me up and down and he goes, "Where's the model?" And I had curlers in my hair. And he goes, "I'm not shooting with
Wow.
fatty." And he turned around. Yeah, he turned around and slammed the door, and everybody, you could hear a pin drop.
Hello, girlfriends, and welcome to another episode of the Tracy Gold Show. And today, our topic is really around, does beauty have a size? Now, I personally believe that there is no size to beauty, and beauty comes in all different shapes, sizes, colors, creeds, you name it, it comes in all different forms. But really, this is often a big bugbear with women, and I find that we often end up, although we know it in our heads, we often end up berating ourselves because we don't fit into the size that we think we should, or that society thinks that we should, or the size that is deemed to be beautiful. So our guest today, she's the best possible person I know to speak about this. She is Emme, the supermodel icon, first plus size iconic model ever. And she's going to be speaking to us about her story and then also sharing her take on the topic. So I'm going to let her into the room. Hey, Emme, thank you so much for coming.
So happy that I'm here. Great to talk about these things. And also congratulations on your beautiful show.
Thank you so much, Emme. I really appreciate it. So, Emme, I know you well, and many people I speak to when I mention your name know you well. But for those who don't, give us the story.
I landed on the scene in the early 90s, late 80s, being a size 12, 14, and I was a reporter for an NBC affiliate before that, and I went to school for reporting. So I was primed to walk into an industry that wasn't fully accepting images and bodies that were above a size 0 or 2. And when my little reporter brain started looking and seeing, well, why aren't there more, bouquet of beauty up there on the billboards? And why are only women size 0 and 2 being reflected in a beauty ideal? It just didn't make a lot of sense to me, first as a woman and then as a reporter. So I started experiencing really wonderful success. I was with Ford Models, and my bookers put me up for 50 of the most beautiful people for People magazine in '94. And that changed my life. So the story that I had about my own body image and about how I felt as a woman, as a young woman in this society, having grown up in Saudi Arabia, that was the impetus. Where women really didn't have a lot of rights at that time, and it still continues to this day. It's getting better, but I thought, my goodness, I better use my voice and start using my background as a reporter to get stats, to get data, and to start reflecting what I was seeing, what I was hearing. My clients started sending me out as a spokesperson, so everywhere I would go, I would listen to stories that were so similar to mine and then very different. So that's really where the beginning, and then I got into TV and I got into clothing lines, and the story continues. Here we are at 2021, and the bouquet of beauty is being reflected. I like to see more of the mature models coming into the scene. I love seeing the whole hue of colors of all of our skin tones being reflected. We have room to go. I'd love to see more luxury. Really, I'd love to see more luxury in the availabilities, and I'm loving 11 Honore, so I'm just giving them a shout out because they're an online retailer. I don't get paid by them, but I look fabulous when I wear anything that they have in luxury. So basically, Tracy, that's the journey.
You know what I love about that story, Emme, is that you were already working as a reporter. And so you were looking at it from two different perspectives. First, you were looking at it from your own personal perspective and how you felt in your body and what messages you were receiving. And I'd like to talk about more about that in a second. But then you were also looking at it from a reporter perspective. And isn't a reporter's whole job to find stories that are interesting to the public, that are not being spoken about? And I feel like size inclusivity has not been spoken about for so many years. I feel like it's actually quite recent that it started to become more acceptable to have these conversations.
I think that the more that we speak about anything that's hidden in dark places, more that, there's a fashion is exclusive and it's only for a certain few, that discussion or conversation is being diluted each and every time that we see beautiful imagery, whether they're size 0 or they're size 22, 24, or all in between. When you see beautiful women walking down the street looking fabulous, you can't really say fashion is for the very few. In fact, that's not a very good business decision to say that, or an attitude to hold. Like, you have 100 million women in this country, just in this country alone, that are above a size 14. So what are you doing about business? So anyway, I'm glad to see the change. I'm really happy to see the change.
Yeah, I was speaking to Senya the other day. I interviewed her on the show, and she was saying that 8% of women are the size that they, the standard size. I'm like, 8%. Why are they not thinking from a business perspective? Like, what is in the brain?
Did you say 8% or 80?
8% of women actually fit the prototype of the ideal woman. So the hourglass shape. I wouldn't even be surprised if it's less than that. But she was speaking from the standpoint of, she's designed clothes in all different shapes. So she said if you take the hourglass shape, 8% of women actually fit that category, which that just blew my mind.
Yes.
Yeah. So Emme, tell me about what messages you were receiving as a woman about your body.
So now, today, or back then?
So then and now. So how was it and how is it now?
So I was an athlete. Thank goodness I was an athlete, because I had that self-esteem, and I still am an athlete. You cannot take that away from my character and the way that my body gets excited about doing things that are, pushing through things. But it prepared me to not take things too personally. However, when I was in the industry, and right before that first People magazine hit, and then there was this whole other thing that took place, because I was in People magazine again for the 50 Most Beautiful in '99, and that kind of, if anybody was going to give me any gruff on the set, people would look at them and say, "You don't be, that's not nice." But before all that happened, I had a photographer come in after I was there on the set for 2 hours, hair and makeup and all that, and I was the only model. And he looked at me up and down, and he goes, "Where's the model?" And I had curlers in my hair. And he goes, "I'm not shooting this fatty." And he turned around. Yeah, he turned around and slammed the door, and everybody, you could hear a pin drop. And I got on the phone. We didn't have cell phones at the time. That really dates me, but that's okay. We didn't have cell phones at the time. And I called my agency. I said, "Listen, I don't understand why this man said what he said, but I said a lot of other stuff, but I just said, I'm done." They go, "No, this is an advertising job. The full-figured industry doesn't get advertising jobs right now. You have to hang in there. Go lay down. We're going to talk to his agency. He's going to come back." Well, hours go. The light changed. The set had to be redone. And he took my cotton boat neck top and he ripped some fibers. And he goes, "Well, if I'm going to shoot you, I'm going to shoot you sexy." And I said, "Just get going. Just get this done." And I just recently found the shot. It was for Chick Cheen's long time ago. And I saw him 3 years later, and all this stuff started popping for me, and my heart sunk, because I really kind of put that in a box in my mind, but I almost left the industry. I actually seriously left the industry right after that job, and I told my bookers my chart's full, but I really need to heal from this. And then I thought that they were kidding me about the 50 most beautiful people?" Because that shoot was right before then. And they go, "Well, you're in the running here." And then when I got it, I understood. I said, "Okay, I am to communicate about what it's like to be a woman in America, not finding clothes, the body as a battleground for others to tell me what was right and wrong." And it started me
Mm.
on this journey of lots of therapy and a lot of communicating my pain. And my pain was somewhat equal to a lot of women, and it was less than a lot of women. There were a lot of women that were going through some serious stuff, and it was
Mm.
hard for them to find their voice.
Mm.
So with me blabbing and talking about this for years and years and having an incredible publicist, Sarah Hall Productions, they actually propelled me into everyday life where everyday women and men were feeling similar, less than or more than relating on these issues. And that's when things started to shift about 8 years after that. It takes time for change. It takes
Mm.
time for people to feel less fear with using their voice with loved
Yes.
ones. You can't talk to me like that anymore. And with your
Mm.
corporations that provide you the clothes, I will not purchase clothes unless you give me a full size extension in the clothing line. I'm no longer going to be the pariah. So it's
Mm.
very, very cool to see how today we have wonderful bloggers and influencers from all shades and all colors and all ages and all sizes. It's amazing without that added impetus and shaking of the trees and not going away and being consistent. It's a
Mm.
teamwork here. So
Mm.
today, I'm doing well with my mind, body, spirit connection, and it sounds like more and more women are owning that. Now, the younger
Yes,
generation today, Tracy, what they're going through online, we didn't have to grow up with that.
that's
Online
true.
is a whole other story, and I'm figuring that one out. I'm doing a lot of chats online,
Mm.
empowerment, and saying no to going down that rabbit hole that will get you
Mm.
nowhere but feeling horrible at the end of the night. And we don't need that
Mm.
anymore.
It's so interesting, Emmy, because on one level, we're actually a lot further down the line than we were like when you and I were younger and growing up
Mhm.
and going through the things that we were going through. But at the same time, there's different kinds of challenges. So yes, we are seeing more diversity in size. We are seeing more women stand up for themselves. We're starting to see more of that kind of inclusivity. And yet there's this absolute huge pressure because now bullying gets to be done 24/7, not just at school or not just, in the neighborhood. It gets to be done like 24/7. And what young
Open
people are
game as
going
well.
through, yeah, it's just very scary. And so,
Mm.
what are you seeing in that space, Emmy? And how can we as women over 40, 50, 60, and beyond help the younger women, whether it be our daughters, our granddaughters, even just young women in our lives, to have greater self esteem so that they don't end up feeling like they're completely isolated and terrible about themselves to the point of it being quite dangerous?
Great question. We support each other equivocally.
Mm.
We online. If there's a lot of stuff going on online, just put a nice comment. And I want to just it's just not as simple as that. What I want to say is with a
Mm.
couple of celebrities were just bombasted just recently. Valerie Bertinelli, and there was another celebrity that was really going through a very, very hard time with people turning on these spokespersons for diet related products. And
Mm.
I mean, it was horrible what was being said. I want to say that we don't need to react to this stuff. We don't need to engage. We do not need to put fuel into the fire. And it's
Mm.
almost like you want to turn the tables around and say, how can I help you? If you're not a part of my tribe and you still hang online where my tribe's all hanging and we're happy, and you feel that you really want to give me bombs of despair, ask yourself why, and how can I, being the person that's had all this experience and all, how can I help you? And if you really are not into my vibe and you don't like the tribe here, please, you're invited always to come back. But there's other tribes. Go find your tribe. They're there. But and there's a door that's open. But would you do us a favor? Life is short here. Would you mind just taking your comments, and because we're not going to engage anymore. And I love engaging with my community. There's a different way to communicate to people who are really having a hard time, and it's reflection or deflection. So, and that's like, you know, family stuff, especially with pandemic. We had to have with everybody, and friends that we were walking regularly with masked up. And there's conversations that need to take place if you feel like you're the only place for dumping ground. And that is how we have to deal with it online. So at home, you would ask, how can we help as the mamas and the aunties, you know, for the younger generation? How we lead our lives is how we model. So if we're going to stand in front of a mirror and we're getting dressed and we say, oh, look at this and look at that in a derogatory way, they're going to think, well, I think she's my goddess. Why is she saying that about herself? And when you're watching a movie, if a lead actress or a sub actress or whatever, and you start picking apart the character on their physicality, everyone in the audience of your living room or in your screening room, wherever, they're going to realize that being around you, they're going to have to be something that they're not, because there's such scrutiny. So if we can just go inward, it's all in here. It's all in the home, in ourselves. And it does start in the home, actually, with all of how life is. Yes, environmental influences, but if we can really take a moment and figure out, who am I, what matters to me, what is it that I'm not clear about, so that you're not deflecting or putting on other people your unhappiness of your mind, body, soul connection. I mean, it might sound a little out there, but it's not. It really is exactly where the work gets done. And when you can just listen and say, how can I help you? And people are coming at you, how can I help you? You know, what's going on?
Emme, I think it's a very powerful thing that you've said, that especially as mothers and as even mentors, if we are checking in with ourselves and how we are responding to our own bodies, how much confidence we're showing in the world, how much we're either uplifting other women or putting other women down, you know, younger women are going to model that. And I think it's so powerful if we cannot even do, if we can't just do it for ourselves, do it for our younger people, you know, because we need to, but it needs to come from within. There are so many women, Emme, that I have spoken with, you know, across the spectrum of age, body shape, size, who have said that, you know, their moms were always on a diet, or their moms always dyed their hair, or their moms. So it wasn't even what they said, it was what they did. And then you know, that was the story. Well, it's unacceptable to let your hair go gray, or it's unacceptable to not be on a diet and actually just enjoy your food, you know, and deprive
Oh my gosh, you've got to enjoy your food.
Exactly. So I think it's a very powerful thing that we do have a sense of responsibility. And I think as women over 40, 50, 60, we are the first generation of women who are living, you know, healthier, longer, better, younger. You know, we're funkier. I mean, like, the clothes I wear, definitely not the clothes that my mother wore when she was my age, you know? So I think that, but with that comes the responsibility that we want to set it up for our younger generation to come after us and to know better how to do this, because we haven't had the role models, right?
Right. That's
We
exactly
live
right.
very differently to our mothers and our grandmothers.
Yes, we do. And I'm very, very happy that we're with voice. And look, you're using your voice on this beautiful show. And one point that I don't think that I know for sure, that I did not know this when I was growing up, but I felt it. And when I learned it by reading and studying this later, it connected, like it aligned. And it was a strong line to this. I always encouraged my friends. I did. In fact, I was made fun of that sometimes there was an opportunity that wasn't quite for me, but came to me and I handed it over to another person.
Mm.
And that didn't feel weird, but other people would be like, what are you doing? But I always believed that, well, I always believed to support one another. But when I saw this one phrase that we all, every single one of us, have tubes of opportunity, they are all for us, not where somebody has a great opportunity, takes it away from us. If you can applaud when your friends do well,
Mm.
and when you do well, maybe they'll be there, but you can't expect, but just applaud when everyone is doing well. You want everyone doing well around you. You don't want to be the only one being successful.
Yes.
It's very lonely. And quite frankly, the way I believe life is, there's a lot of inadequacies right now. Not inadequacies, it's uneven areas of opportunity. But when you really believe that we all have these opportunities that come and that we have these, there's no limit to how far we can go. If we only limit
Mm.
ourselves when we look at somebody else and we get jealous, we look at somebody else and we go, we put bad mojo on somebody else and say, oh, you know what? I'm going to take that or I'm going to do that. My gosh, that's like, it works so opposite in your life.
Yes.
So it's to understand that we ourselves, it's in our own grasp, it's in our own perspective, and if we keep a positive attitude and stay focused on the goal and be able to help others along, like I always, there's these little monkeys that you play, plastic monkeys, they're in an S shape, and so you can pull one up and you bring another person up underneath you.
Yeah.
Mentorship,
Yeah.
girlfriendship, gathering together, brainstorming with one another, not asking, and being there as a support system.
Mm.
Um, yeah,
Mm.
and if you see somebody that's really had it hard and tough, get go outside of your own comfort zone and say, how can I help?
Yeah.
You know, it's
Amy,
yeah,
I've become very aware, especially, as we're emerging. So in the US, we're emerging from COVID. There are many countries that are not. But as we emerge from COVID, I've just become really aware that so many of us, in fact, pretty much all of us have gone through a really rough time, whether we
mm,
know it or not. So even in business, when I'm engaging with somebody, I'm just aware of to try and give that person grace.
yeah,
And because we don't know the backstory, right? And we may
no,
perceive like, oh, I may be defensive. Like if somebody I'm working with isn't doing what I feel they should be doing. I've caught myself in this and I was like, step back and go, wait a minute, let me just give her some grace because I don't know
great,
what's going on in her life, and the challenges that she faces. And I think now more than ever, we've all gone through hardships. We're not
yeah,
the only ones that have experienced loss and fear and anxiety and uncertainty. And in some cases, really, really huge losses. We all have. And so maybe now is a time to really recalibrate that and start to really focus on giving each other grace. At the same time, I also know that that's kind of hard sometimes. Because let's say if you and your friend, you're both in the same industry, you're both going for the same kind of work, and one gets, your best friend gets the work that you want and maybe even think that you deserve. So how do you handle that one? I
well,
mean,
it's
let's
interesting,
be
yeah.
real.
So right now we went through and we are still going through. I can't say that the US is actually out of COVID completely. Obviously, we're really being challenged. And
Yeah.
certain states are locking down on doing mask mandates again. And we
Mm.
just, so I'm glad that we're able to get out and about a little bit. But this has been, I call this the greatest equalizer worldwide. Whether you're a king, a queen, a
Yes.
janitor, a model, a communicator on TV, it has affected all of us. And
Mm.
to your point, Tracy, taking a moment and realizing that if someone is going to be late on a call or miss a call together, or they just don't look really put together, and especially not everyone is used to seeing their image on Zoom all the time. And I've been coaching some people on how to prepare and then turn off your image so that you're not always seeing it. That's also a lot of fear of people being on camera talent for the very first time in their life, and they're
Yes.
introverts, it's like, whoa. But it's truly giving each other that grace. Now, if a friend does get an opportunity, once again, I'm going to ask everyone that's watching this, do your very best with your whole heart. Be there for them in celebration, because it doesn't mean that that's not going to be happening to you. And it might be that job for her was perfect for everything else that you might not understand, all the connecting of the dots that are behind the scenes, almost like a puppeteering thing. And that if you hold on to that positive, going forward and not looking back, but being in this present moment where you propel going forward, there's going to be the opportunity for you. If you take all that beautiful forward motion in your thinking and deflect it over to someone in negativity, my goodness, that's going to delay all the great stuff. There's such abundance out there if we can just believe that and have faith in it.
Emme, I was listening to a guy who used to do hypnosis and a lot of personal development stuff, that he turned a lot of typical, things that I've always heard in the personal development space and turned it on its head. And one of the things that he spoke about, he says, is that your life and your outcomes is where your focus is. And if you're focusing on the lack of, if you're focusing on, oh, well, she has it, therefore I don't get, that's what you're going to get, is lack. However, if you, like what you're saying, you focus on the fact that there is abundance and that your opportunity could be just around the corner, and that's perfect.
Yeah.
It's always perfect for you, right? As opposed to that opportunity is perfect for your friend, but your opportunity is different. And when you focusing on that, that's what comes. And that was very, very important. And I think it is, sometimes it's easy to say, I know it's easy to say and harder to do, but I think it is really important, especially as we kind of figure out what this world looks like now, because everything has changed.
Yes. And it's changing.
Everything.
So
yes.
Dr. Joe Dispenza, Dr. Wayne Dyer, those two gentlemen have books and books and books and talk and have tons of YouTube videos. If anybody wants to be able to hook into that thinking, that positive going forward thinking, those are great resources, because the power of the mind, where our focus is, and being in the present moment as much as possible. What got me through pandemic was being home, not knowing what's going to happen the next day, what's going to happen the next month. And if I looked back and had foresight of like how long we were going to be in, the heaviness of that would have been really hard. But we were in the present moment and had a routine to be able to get through that. It's a leveler. It's truly a leveler, and it's all the whole thing. No matter what anybody says out there, like we start our conversation, the whole the way that we live our life is between our ears and in our heart, and staying open and not closed, and just get out and be in nature as much as possible. I got to have that. That has just been the greatest grace. When I'm feeling stressed, I throw on my shoes and I get out into my trails. It's been helping me, and doing meditation in the morning. That's like spiritual blood.
Yeah, I hear you. I mean, that's amazing. Yeah. Thank you so much for sharing. And I mean, we could speak all day, because I know that there's so much that, there's so much more to your story as well, because I've heard, I've known you for a while, but I just really appreciate how you have taken your own experiences and seen it as an opportunity to share, and an opportunity to help people out there to love themselves more, to love their bodies more, to love who they are more, and then to pay that forward. Yeah. Give ourselves a hug. In fact, everybody watching right now, give yourself a hug.
Please.
Yes.
Every day. We need 12 of them. And if you are not living with someone, we do. So I'm hugging you too. I'm hugging you. But it's true. Do that for yourself. it's important. And if you are living on your own, and I don't have a significant other, my daughter is going to be going to school, but we
Wow.
try and very much do the hugs, because if you've got to give it to yourself, got to
Yeah,
give it to
so
yourself.
good. So, Emmy, I
Thank
know
you,
that you
Tracy.
have an amazing community. You have an incredible website. So, where can people find you to follow you if they feel they need more of your inspiration? Because there's plenty more where that came from. And also, Emmy, you do coaching, right?
I am an executive life coach. Yes, I am very excited about that. You can find me on Instagram. Thank you, Tracy, for this. Supermodel Emme, Emme. And you can DM me there, as well as if you want to learn more about my coaching, you could go to Emme Wellness, and it's emme.wellness on Instagram. But please go to emmestyle.com. If you want to reach out to me, you can actually do that there directly. I have contact forms and all that, but you'll see a little bit more. There's a lot of Q&A that I've left for people that have basic questions about things. I'm a huge supporter of the National Eating Disorders Association. They talk a lot. So that's National Eating Disorders Association.org. If you have anybody that's going through some serious stuff with body image, self-esteem, eating disorders, that kind of thing, they're fantastic, and it's all very confidential. They have a 1-800 line there too. So thank you very much for
Awesome. That's amazing.
allowing me to shout that out.
Yeah, and on the screens, your handles will go on there. And then also just bear in mind that everybody that's watching, just check the description and I'll put those links, Emmy, to what you've just referred to. I'll be putting all of those links below, so feel free to do so. And if you're new to the show, welcome and keep watching, because there's plenty where this comes from. This is a show for women over 40, 50, and 60 and beyond, because you know what? We are not defined by our age any longer, and we can live and thrive and live our best lives at any age. So thanks so much, Emmy. Thanks to all for all those that are watching. Take care. Bye-bye.